Hi there, everybody. How are you tonight? Just making sure all my settings are set and that I can hear myself. Give me just a moment. I've got my computer muted. Oh, not anymore. Good. You guys can hear me. Excellent. Welcome. Hi, this is Holly. The echo is bad. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Holly. I'm with Silver Knew Nothing. Don't break my scissors. Thank you. I'll try not to. They're right here, brand new, all set to go. Although I don't see why you're not seeing them, but probably because of the delay. Oh, see, there they are. And I'm going to share this. All right. Okay. So tonight I am going to be making a full-size wreath using what is called a country ruffle. And this is, my understanding is that the person who made up this fold for the mesh is from Tina over in Out in the Country, Blanks and More. So this method actually uses 21-inch mesh versus 10.5-inch mesh, which I normally use. So because it's so long, I've already gone through and I've cut it. But what I did is I took my 21-inch mesh and then I rolled it out to 20 inches long and I cut it into strips. So sitting in front of me, as you can see here at the top of my screen, I've got 12 pieces of mesh cut at 20 inches. And I've already got my base set up with the standard format of 12 pipe cleaners. So I'm going to start with the folding. So this is a great way to be able to use 21-inch mesh, and it gives you a really nice full, almost like a double poof in a way. So the way that this works is that you take your mesh and you fold it and you take it a little bit over half. So I'm going to overlap the middle here a little bit. And then you fold it in half lengthwise so that you've got your two ends together. And then you've got this nice little pocket up here. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to ruffle it. So I'm going to put my hands here at the bottom, put my thumbs in the middle. I'm not going to move my thumbs, but I'm going to use my fingers to kind of ruffle this up. And what that gives me, like I said, is kind of like a little double bow tie in a way. It's like a little fancy bow tie. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going to add it to my wreath base as I normally would any other fold of mesh. Okay, so here I've got a chocolate jute mesh tonight. So there's dark brown with a stripe of jute running through it. Make it look really cute with all of my pet ribbon that I have. And so I'm just going to go through and fold these up again. If you're just joining me for the first time, please drop a line and say hello. I call this crafting after dinner because I am on the West Coast, where I know a lot of people that are watching maybe on Midwest or on the East Coast. So for you guys, it's definitely crafting after dark. But it's only 8 o'clock here on the West Coast. So after I put this one on my base, I'll explain again how I did the ruffle. Right, so I've got my 21-inch mesh that I cut at 20 inches. And then for me, what I do is I fold it. And for me, it's easier for me to do it horizontally. There are some people who fold this vertically, but as my husband and my friends joke, I don't have very long arms. So it's easier for me if I just do it horizontally like this. And then that also allows me to kind of put my hand in the middle and hold my fingers here on this end and fold it down to that end. And then I've got my little pocket. And then I'm ready to ruffle it up. And right now I am putting my inside ruffles in. It doesn't matter if you do your inside or your outside first. What really matters on this wreath base is that you have your cut ends facing each other. So when I go down and I work on the bottom, my ruffle will go in the opposite direction. So here I am. Again, I'm just folding it in half. And then I'm going to fold it in half. And again, I'm overlapping just a little bit. And for me, it's easier to do the fold horizontally versus vertically. And then I can put my hand here in the middle. And I take the edge of the mesh, bring them together, fold it over in half. So now both ends of the mesh are together. And then I flip it. And then I'm going to ruffle it. Ruffling like this. And again, it gives me that double bow tie look. Now you'll notice that as I start to put these ruffles on, they kind of lay on each other. What I'll eventually want to do is I'll want to kind of bump them up next to each other here. So to get some nice volume. But I've got 2 more on the top and then I'm onto the bottom. So by pre-cutting my mesh, it made it much quicker for me to be able to do the folds on this. Again, I've got this folding it about in half. There's not an exact measurement. These are approximate folds. It's just important that in the middle there is some overlap. Right? So the goal of this type of ruffle is to hide those cut ends so that we don't have any fraying. Because people don't like it when our mesh frays. I know as a crafter, I hate it when my mesh frays. So if I can do anything I can do that will hide that fray, I will do. So this ruffle definitely hides all fray. And I absolutely like that a lot, like 100%. All right, so I'm just pulling it tight and twisting twice. 1 more on the top and then onto the bottom. All right, so there's that. Fold it in half. Now, because I have 8 layers of mesh here, this is a little bit of a thick ruffle. So it does take a little bit of dexterity to pull all of that material together. Just fringe that one in there. Hi, Cindy. The width of my mesh sections is 20 inches. So I took this 21-inch mesh and I cut it at 20 inches. So I've got the 20-inch section and I folded it a little bit more than half on top of it itself. Got those folded, fold it down, bring these two, the end together to the other end. And I'm going to ruffle it. And the advantage of this is that all of the cut ends are covered. And then this was the edge of the mesh roll. And now that I am on to my next level, I'm going to flip it so that it's on the inside so that my customer sees this beautiful bow that's right here. This kind of like the bow tie is what I keep calling it. You're right, Dana. It totally hides the edges perfectly. I love it. I also like that it makes a very full wreath. I like that as well. Cindy, I agree that it would be good for those thin and light colored meshes because it gives you essentially 4 layers of mesh. And what's going on there. I just want to make sure that I can find my twist ties later so I can add my ribbons. Oh, good. Mesh down. Okay, got it. Whoop. I'll have to be on the hunt for that later. Okay, so again, I'm putting that edge of the roll on the inside so that my customer only sees the lovely end of my ruffle or my poof. Hold twice, twist, twist. I guess I can find those later since those pipe cleaners blend really well. And we've got mesh that's trying to escape. So let me pull that back. So I live in Northern Nevada, and as you can tell, I'm fairly fair-skinned. And I spent a whopping 20 minutes with a friend out on the patio yesterday, and I'm a little sunburned. So I'm feeling that. And because I've been sunburned so much, I have a little sun sickness today, which is why I'm rocking my Pebbles hair. It's because I don't feel 100%. But crafting is always therapeutic. So now, like I said, it doesn't matter if you put the top on first or the bottom on first. It really just depends on your style or your preference. I switch it up depending on my mood, on whether I put my bottom ruffles on first versus my top ruffles. Again, my understanding is that Tina Gower-Stromberg from out in the country is the one who figured out this ruffle. So I will give her credit for where credit is due for coming up with a ruffle And a good way to use the 21-inch mesh, most of the time when I use 21-inch mesh, I'm doing poofs only. And sometimes I find that to be boring. So it's nice to be able to see another technique where I can cut my mesh and use it in individual pieces. Okay, so after this one, 2 more, and my base will be set. Cindy, I'm actually using a Dollar Tree frame, so I did 6 top, 6 bottom on my ties. So I put pipe cleaners at each crossbar, and then I put one on the bottom at each crossbar, and then on the top row I put one in the middle of each section. So this is 12. Okay, 2 more. Here we go. So I chose this mesh because it seems like a lot of the pet ribbon is brown and black. So I thought that this would be a really cute color combination, which is why I went with the chocolate with the jute stripe. It's also very reminiscent of pets to me. You know, like their leashes and those types of things. Yeah, Cindy, most of the time, if I end up doing 8 along the top, I'm doing that usually with my 10.5-inch mesh. Just because sometimes like with a ruffle, it's not as full, but these become pretty thick. So I felt comfortable just doing the 12 on this one. And with it hard to find bases right now, I also wanted to do a base that I thought most people are familiar with. That was the other reasoning behind it. Okay, so here is the last country ruffle. Again, I used 21-inch mesh. I cut it to 20-inch lengths. I folded it in half a little bit in the middle. Uh-oh, lost the twist tie. That's hilarious. Oh, found it. So as I was saying, I cut it into 20-inch lengths. I fold it in half a little bit, and then I fold the other side over it, so there's a little bit of overlap in the middle. That gives me one, probably about a 10-inch strip. I then fold it in half lengthwise, or so that it's half the length. Yeah, so it makes it a 10-inch ruffle, and then I ruffle it. Okay. So now I've got my base put together here. I have not shown a sign for this yet, Dana. So the sign's going to be welcome. I hope you like dogs. So I think that'll also, I like the teal on top of the brown. And then the ribbons that I have right now are the standard dog ribbons that you normally find. I also have some white paws that have a little bit of glitter in them that I may add in too. I just haven't decided for sure what I want, but I do like that this has like all the different breeds of dogs, and then this has the paws and the bones. And then that's just the black paws. So haven't decided yet. I also have a ribbon looking over on my shelf that is this teal color with polka dots. So I might do that. I haven't 100% decided, but I am at that point where I do need to decide in a wreath making process what it is that I want to do. So I think what I'll start off with next is I'll put some tails in. And for the tails, I'm going to do the white paws with the bones for the tails in the individual, I call them twist ties, but I know they're pipe cleaners or chenille stems or whatever y'all want to call them. But for some reason, I call them twist ties. I know that's not what they are. All right, so I have 12 of them. I'm going to want to do one in each. I'll put each ribbon in each tie, so that I will need 12, and I'm going to use 12 inches for those tails. So I've got my ribbon tail cutter, and I'm just going to cut out 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, I'm not. 11. Oh, and I just ran out of ribbon. Oh no, Mr. Bill. Now what do I do? Hold on. One moment. Hold, please. Okay. I'll use this 11 feet of ribbon, maybe in the bow. I knew I was getting close. Didn't know how close I was, though. But I do have 1.5 inch ribbon that is the same. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and I'll cut those into 12-inch strips, and we'll just have two 1.5 inch tails. That'll work. That's where the sign goes. Oh, Cindy, perfect. I could do that too. Oh, now tough decision. Do I want 2 1.5s, or do I want a 2.5 and a 1.5 for my tail? Oh, I think that's what I'll do. I'm going with Cindy's idea of where that extra tail is not, is where the sign is going to go. So I'm going to cut these into 12-inch strips. These will be the tails. And then I'll use the cute puppy ribbon, the 1.5 inch one as well. Okay, so there's those 11. I do need to dovetail them still. So what I mean by dovetailing is I'm just bringing the ribbon together, and then I'm folding it in half so that the wire edges come next to each other. And then the way that I cut is I cut up, but I'm left-handed. So I don't know if that matters or not, but I cut left-handed because I'm holding the ribbon in my right hand. And I cut towards the wire. And then that gives me, as you can see, a really nice V in my, my tail there. Okay, I know that there are other people when they're making their wreaths where they cut the opposite direction. They cut away from the wire. So instead of cutting up, they'll bring the wire closest to them and then they'll cut down. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You just want to make sure you're getting a V, and whatever it is, whichever way you're cut, whether you cut up or down, that you are, the lower part is away from the ribbon, or the wire, excuse me. Okay. I'm going to pull this cute dog bone pattern out. Oh, Dana, you cut towards the wire too? Are you lefty or are you righty? So 12 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're righty. Okay. And then we'll dovetail these ends and we'll be ready to put them on to the base. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, Cindy, I hadn't seen this until last month, I guess in February. The whole month of March completely blew by. I had no, wow, we're already halfway through April. So yeah, I saw this originally in February from Tina over on Out in the Country, Blanks and More. She does, she makes a wreath every day from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time. And one day she was using this method. I thought that's a fantastic way to use the 21-inch mesh. And I do like the extra curls that it puts on the base as well. Okay, so I've got all those little pieces. We're in the trash. Do this. I'll pull it back out when I make the bow. But for now, I'll move that out of the way. Give myself some more work room. Okay. So there I am. Totally going to take Cindy's advice and leave that 12-foot long tail empty. So I'll make sure that happens on the top so that I cover it. So I want to make sure that all of my bottom ties do have tails in them. So when I do this, I just fold it in half so that I get a nice crease in the wire of the ribbon. And then I pinch it. And then I just kind of fluff it a little bit to kind of give it a little bit of curl. I always use a wired ribbon. And then when I do this, I put it in and I pull it tight and I twist and I twist. And then I have the decision of or the choice really, it's not really a decision, it's a choice. Do I want to leave these so they're layered on top of each other like a V? Or do I want to pull them out like an X? And so I'm going to put a couple in before I make that full decision. I think this is going to look really cute once I get all of the tails on. Okay, again, put the two tails together, fold it in half. I push it down because I like to be able to see the crease. And then that tells me where I need to scrunch. I'm going to stick it in the pipe cleaner, pull it tight, twist, twist, fluff those up a little bit, move on to the next one. That one has a little bit of a flaw in it. I'm going to put that on the top also near the sign. Yay for signs and being able to cover up our flaws, huh? The wire in this ribbon is actually really good. This ribbon is actually behaving very nicely for me, which I like. It's keeping its poof or its curl. And again, I did 12-inch tails. Sometimes I do 14, sometimes I do 10, sometimes I do 8. It really just kind of depends on my mood. I find that the 12-inch tails really are my favorite, though. I think that they show up most, or they show up the best on the wreaths, in my opinion. They do. I really prefer that 12-inch ribbon. You learned that the hard way, Cindy? Okay, so pulled it tight, twisting twice. This ribbon with the paw print is a thinner ribbon. It's not a very thick ribbon. It's not super canvas. It's a very, very light cotton. So I think I'm going to keep them at these because I don't know if the cotton in the ribbon is stiff enough to hold the X if I were to pull them apart. And I think that those little paw prints look cute, just kind of peeking out behind the bones. Just a nice little pop of white. Cindy, I have made a bubble wreath. When I first started making wreaths, I used 21-inch mesh all the time. And I think I had an entire season of bubble wreaths. And I was really frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to put the tails on them because the bubbles are so tightly packed that the bubbles didn't work. So I spent a lot of time watching YouTube trying to figure out other methods to be able to use 21-inch meth with. Now, you're indecisive about the length of what length to make the tails. Me too. And my thought is, okay, well, I really like the 14, but then sometimes I get the 14-inch tail on, and I'm like, oh, it's too long. So then I feel like I've wasted ribbon. And then sometimes I use the 8-inch because I think that that's just going to look really short and sassy. And then I get it on, and it's not as sassy as I thought. So I don't know. I think maybe it's just a mood thing. I don't know. I'm looking at the view that you guys see. These V's actually look really cute on top as well. I just pull it, twist, twist, make sure it's not going anywhere. And pull those out. So usually if I go with a Curious, what will the dimensions of the wreath be? So the wreath base is going to be, when it's done, it's about 21. So it's about 21 inches in diameter. And then depth wise, without any bows on it, it's between 6 and 7 inches deep. So it's a pretty good size wreath. It's pretty fluffy, which is what I like about the country ruffle, is that it does make a nice fluffy wreath. And then it also gives a lot of texture with these extra little poofs that are there that you can see like when the door opens. So I like that. This little guy got smushed down. I'll pull him up. Just gonna put its tail in. Yeah, it is a little bit smaller than the poof in the bubble. And it's interesting that it's also a little bit smaller than like a 10.5-inch mesh. Like if you do a ruffle or a woodland ruffle or ruffle, depending on what you call it, with a 10.5-inch, because usually those are 24-inch wreaths. So it does make it a little bit smaller. And I think that is because we're taking 21 inches and we're folding it a little bit more than half. So it's not nearly as wide. So it doesn't stick out as far. But it makes it poofy. Okay, so this is my last set of ribbon tails. And then I'll prepare my sign and make my bow while my sign is drying. Because I'm going to put some cable mounts on it. So I want those to dry while I make the bow. Okay. So there's my base, minus 1 tie because I was 1 foot short on the white 2.5-inch ribbon. So that's where my sign will go. And this is the sign. Now the sign that I have is very interesting. I found this on Etsy, but it's interesting because it can be like a shelf sitter too. It has a strange thing. This hook or stand, and then the hook itself comes out. This is the first time I had received a sign like that. It's from a company called Highland Woodcrafters in Springfield, Tennessee. I found it on, like I said, I found it on Etsy. So I could use staples, and because obviously I've got plenty of wood here, and I could staple my pipe cleaners in. But I am going to use the cable mounts like I would if I were dealing with a metal base on a sign. Okay. Oh, you know what? So before I do this, let me put I seem to be pretty happy when it comes to putting the super glue on the cable mounts. And a lot of times it's still wet when I want to put the, what are these? Pipe cleaners in. So let me put the pipe cleaner in before I try to smash it, put it on its final resting place. Okay, so the reason that I use the DAP, I'm using DAP Rapid Fuse all-purpose adhesive. A lot of times upstairs when my husband helps me with signs, he's got some Gorilla Glue, crazy glue. And that's really what this is just super glue. But I'm going to put a dot of that down, and then I've taken the adhesive backing off of my cable mount, and I'm going to put my cable mount on top of that. And I want to I've got these two little dots. Let's see. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. Give me just a moment. Maybe. You might be able to see them. So there are these two little tiny dots on the side of the cable mount, and I want to make sure that I get super glue inside of there, because I have found, as I mentioned earlier, I live in Northern Nevada, and I had my wreath in a salon last summer. I had several recent salons, but I had one in, and it was the salon owner. I had gone in, and she was like, "Holly, I'm so sorry. I had to like not display your wreath because it broke." It's like, what do you mean it broke? And so she had pulled it out of the sunshine and she had stuck this back on. And by the time I got there, everything had cooled off. So what I learned was that the adhesive that's inside the cable mount. So if you look up in the corner here, there's the adhesive, like the foam part. The glue on that melted and the plastic piece came away from the foam, and my wreath was on the ground in the middle of her salon. So to keep that from happening, what I will do is I will put a dab of glue in those little tiny holes, because those little tiny holes go down to the foam adhesive. And then I'll put a little bit of glue also on the outside, because I don't want that to fall off. I was so embarrassed that my sign fell off of my wreath, that it just got warm enough. The cable mount was still attached. The base was, just not the foam adhesive on the inside of it. The things that happen, huh? Okay, I take the adhesive off the back of this one. Put my glue down. Get on there. I already attached my pipe cleaner. I am putting a little bit of glue in that hole that gets closest to the adhesive, because I don't know where this wreath will end up, and if they will live in an area where direct sunlight could hit the sign and have that fall out. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside and let that dry while I work on the bow. Okay, so for the bow, what I have this 2.5-inch dog ribbon that has different breeds. Let's see, looking at it, I see a Great Dane. I see what looks like a lab, a little pitty. There's a Frenchie. There's a husky. There's a wiener dog. There's all kinds of, there's a poodle. So I love this ribbon because it's all inclusive of all the different breeds. So if you have like one specific breed, or if you are a multi-breed family, then this ribbon is all inclusive. So I love that. I'm also going to include the 1.5-inch that's in the tails. And then I have a 1.5-inch, which is the paw print, similar to the 2.5-inch that I put in the base. Cindy, am I going to be curling the chenille ties or do I cut them? I haven't decided yet. Sometimes I curl them. Sometimes I put stuff on the ends of them. Like I will find foam, like foam glitter balls or foam things, and like stick it on the end. I really wish I had some really cute foam dog bones. That would be really cute. And if that doesn't work, then I cut them off. So usually that's something at the very end that I decide. All right, so to make my bow, I am not coordinated enough to make a hand bow. So I am going to use a bow maker. And I'm going to use my Easy Bow Maker tonight because it was right there next to me hiding. I think I'm just going to do a simple 3, 2, 1. So let me start by, because this was the beginning of the roll, I don't want that crease to be at the end of my bow tail, even though I will be dovetailing. And I'm going to do an 8-inch. Yeah, I'll do an 8-inch tail. And then I'm going to do a 6-inch loop. And this is going to have 3 loops at 6 inches. So this will be the back part of the bow. I feel like I've got my ribbon on the wrong side. Oh, now I've done it. Okay, here we go. It discombobulated there for a second. All right, so this is 3 on this side. Okay. And this will be my 3rd loop on this side. And I'm just fighting with my ribbon. And then again, I'm going to go for approximately an 8-inch tail. And I'll put this one away. Okay. Maybe. Huh. There we go. Then I'm going to take the 1.5-inch paws. This one has a satin feel, and then these little paws are chenille. So those are kind of fun. Again, I'm going to do another 8-inch tail on this, but I'm just going to do 2 loops. And I'm going to bring it in about an inch. This will be 5-inch loops that I do. Dana, the struggle is real with the ribbon and making the bows. I have all of these various spools that I can attach the ribbon to just to try to help me. I think my husband thinks I'm a hot mess. I know I am sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't I just get this to work right? All right. So there's the 5-inch loop. This bow is taking me way longer than it should to make, but that's okay. I will get there, you guys. And it'll be super cute when we're done. All right, so 2 loops of this one. Okay, so how do you keep the dowel rods in the Easy Bow Maker? So literally, I hammered them like crazy. Like I took them outside with the hammer and I beat the dowels into the 2 spots. Occasionally they do come a little bit loose, so then I beat them with my wire cutters. I know the dowel rods do move quite a bit on this bow maker. I wouldn't suggest super gluing it in. I know that there are some people who have said, oh, I want to super glue it in, but you need to, what I think about in that aspect is that I need them to be able to get wider as my bow gets more material in it. So I don't want to super glue them together because then they're stationary and I don't want them to be stationary. You didn't even make it through one bow. I've had this bow maker for a little over a year. I use it quite a bit. I use my Bodabra a lot, but most of the time my Bodabra is like just my second set of hands. It's an easy place for me just to put ruffles. Okay, and then this one's going to be one loop on each side. Again, I'm going with those 8-inch tails. One loop about an inch in. While they fight with this crazy ribbon. Oh dear. There we go. And it's funny, if you don't make bows for a while, you get out of practice. We had some family things going on last fall, and so I didn't make a lot of wreaths for the Christmas season. So when I started making wreaths in the spring again, like, how do I make this bow? You can see that I'm still a little rusty. Okay, so I did a 3-2-1 bow, which is just 3 loops of one ribbon, 2 loops of another ribbon, and then 1 loop of your final ribbon. Depending on your methodology, you can move your loops around now, or you can move them around once you've got everything secure. For me, I just want to make sure that I have my tails all facing down before I begin to secure the middle portion of the bow. And you can either use a pipe cleaner, or you can use a cable mount, not a cable mount, a zip tie, whichever you prefer. I am going to use a pipe cleaner. And so I've just brought it up a little bit, tried real hard to keep it all stacked together, pulling it around to the back, bringing the 2 pieces together, and then I'm going to twist the bow. Twisting the bow makes it a tighter twist. Your easy bow, it's back in the box. You use the Pro Bow. The Pro Bow, Cindy, is so intimidating to me because I see all the different fingers that it has. Oh, it scares me. All right, so I've got this cute bow. I'm going to pull the loops out. I'll fluff it up a little bit. Make sure I've got my tails here at the bottom. And that's a pretty cute bow. Okay, let me trim my tails. And here's the last one. Oh, okay. So now I'm going to add my sign, and then I can decide where to put the bow, and if there's anything else that I want to do to this wreath. So let me push all the stuff out of my work area. Bring the bow in, or bring the wreath into the middle. And I want this to sit at the top. I think I do want this to sit at the top. So I'm going to place this at around 12 o'clock. And then I'm taking my pipe cleaner and I'm feeding it down through my ruffles. And I'm looking for one of those crossbars. I forgot the word for a minute. I'm going to blame that on the sun and my little sunburn. Pull these out because I don't want to hide those either. All right. So because I haven't put my bow on yet, I'm okay with turning this over. And you'll see that here's my crossbar and here are my two pipe cleaners. So I'm just going to tie this around as tightly as I can. Because I don't want that sign to move too much. And I'll come back later and cut off the ends. So it's good for big bows. You like it for tree toppers. Yeah, I think the size of it is what intimidates me. Totally intimidates me about that. The Pro Bow in the hand is that it's so big. I think that's what part is just intimidating to me. Okay. Right, and then I've got this cute little bow here. I think this might require more than one bow. I don't know yet. I usually like to use 3s in designs. Pull my tails so I can see them, so I have a better idea. Again, I'm going to look over here at the camera, at the view that you guys see, because you guys have the bird's eye view. And that's okay. So I'm just taking its pipe cleaner and pulling it through down to the base. I'm going to pull it down, but I don't want to pull so tight that I smush the loops on my bow. I just want it to be secure enough so that it doesn't flop around. Okay. So that's pretty cute. Leaves me, I have these 2 open areas here. I am going to do little tiny funky bows with this white and those 2 there. So it looks like there's little extra bows, and it incorporates the same patterns that are in the tails. Why not? So I don't want these to be super huge. So I'm going to take just 16 inches of ribbon. And add little tiny funky bows to the top. I'm not going to do them all the way around. Okay. So with the funky bow, you just take your strip of ribbon, fold it in half. Figure out how big you would like the loop to be. I don't want these to be gigantic loops. Pinch them. It's about a 3-inch loop. And I'm going to take the tails and make them both face forward. And then make sure that you get that wire warm so that it curls up nice. And then I'm just going to stick it right here in the middle. Just gives it a little extra flair. Maybe here I'll spread those apart a little bit. I need to look over here. see what's going on. Yeah, so for the top portion of my wreath here, you guys, I didn't have a specific recipe. I knew that I wanted to use the country ruffle tonight. I knew which ribbon I wanted to use, but I hadn't decided how I wanted to do the finishing pieces of the decoration. So that's kind of why I'm just fiddling around with it now, because I hadn't decided that piece of it, what those final finishing touches would be. All right. Again, cute little funky bows. I do want to make sure that these tails go down so that I'm going to place it the right way on the base. And I need to dovetail the ends. Yep. Okay. Final touch. I am going to curl my pipe cleaners rather than cut them off. So I have just a little curly Q tool here that I use to wrap the pipe cleaner around, and then I pull it out. Again, I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom back in. The best of my ability. And bring this over. So this one. Okay, so I just got my little tool here, and I'm just wrapping it around to give me little tiny curls or twists. I'm pulling out, and this is just, actually it's from when I was making jewelry. It's a jewelry file. Just the perfect diameter to give that just some whimsy. Okay, so I'll go through and find any of these that are sticking out. And I just tug on them just a little bit. And then the outside is super easy. So you can't see that. I'm sorry, you guys. So on the outside, I'm just taking it and I'm literally just curling it up the length of my tool. And then I'll just pull it off. I've got nice little curlies. And I'll try to do this where you can see it. Okay. Just wrap that around. I know that there are some people who will use a pencil or a dowel. I find that this little tool that I have works really good for this. I use it mostly to punch holes in the boxes when I'm shipping stuff. But it's a nice little curler. Okay. I'm going to zoom back out so you guys can see what I'm doing, rather than just stuck on that one part of the bow. Apparently I missed this one, but I did this one. Looks like I've made it all the way around. All right, so using the country ruffle, I have created this cute little dog lover bow, our wreath. I feel like the ruffles are standing up more on one side than on the other side. But overall, the wreath is 21 inches in diameter, and at the bow, it is 8 inches deep, but the base is about 7 inches deep. So this was the country ruffle for dog lovers. I hope that you enjoyed watching. I appreciate your interaction with me this evening and for watching as I begin to display some of the wreaths that I'm creating. And if you enjoyed this, please give me a like, a thumbs up, a smile, something. And thanks again for watching, everybody. Bye. Have a good night.